I guess maybe I should open that up a little bit more. It's going to mess my camera up. Dude. So I got to tilt a little bit more. Okay. I left off here teaching Jesus's teaching, and it's a PDF that's in the description. If not, found on my YouTube site or my website, which is below. And this has the locations of the verses where I got them to put the text in order, so you can see here. I'm starting this video. It starts at John 5 or John 7, and then Matthew 22, and that is by taking the truest verses and editing to be the truest verses and making them first person, and then combining all the texts from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John into one order. And I am doing like editing as I go, because I have another book that's in the description or on my website that's called Yahweh's Everlasting Promises, which has from the Hebrew text, has the first writer's formats that I'm using, and made a complete story from beginning to end of everything that I felt that was the most important text from the Bible. And people think that the Bible, every word is true. That is not true. Let me give an example of this, because I've done this in every intro, so I don't want to make this intro too long, but I have an old Bible program. It's the NSAB. I used the NSAB 1977, and it has a concordance to go with the 1977. So when I click on the English word here, it tells me the Hebrew word here that they've used to get copyrights. They've changed the lettering or done adjustment to words. And then down here, which is dangerous that they let us know, is that this is how many times they use the word which, or the word who, or the word what. But I can tell you that there's words for storehouse, steward, reason, anyone, deadly, and powder. So the thing here is, I'll give you the example here. The word so, they have a Hebrew word for so, and yet they use the word so 7 times. You can never say again that every word in the text is true, okay? Translated from the Hebrew exactly. And I tried, it can't be done. Go back and fix it. The text is so distorted. So I try to tell people our Creator made me see him 8 times, 7 times is in a video that's on my YouTube channel called Afterlife. So the other thing is I have a video in the description right now of a bishop saying that the church fathers in year 200 started teaching Jesus as a myth, and that's the way you're supposed to learn from the Catholic Church, that Jesus is a myth. You're not supposed to read it literally. That video is there in the description. Okay. I left off teaching. This is only page 9 of 47. So, and my pages are like 20 inches long. So, anyways, what I'm doing is I'm editing the text, and then hopefully take this and edit the other book that I told you about. That is free in the description, to have one story, complete story. Then some of our people from Zublin were asking, is he the male we are waiting for? So let me see, the word Zublin, let me get a map here so I can start out with the Zublin. The Zublin is here, and actually I got to go to this map here to show you that Nazareth is in Zublin. If I take it, blow it up here, see this, and it's pretty much by the way the rivers are divided, the way they divided the land up, or Joshua divided the land up. So the thing here is when I click on Zebulun and grab the same area, you now see Nazareth is in Zebulun. So should I put a map here at this point? I'm going to make the note because I know that I've been putting maps in. Maybe I just haven't referred to the other map. But what I do is I'm just going to be adding maps and notes to the text, and this is the start of that editing to help make sure people don't get confused when they read the text. Because right now I have all capital letters for our Creator, and I've changed his name to Yahweh, which is pronouncing the letter Y and V in Hebrew. And then to represent, honor, and respect our Creator, they're in all capital letters. Jesus gets a capital letter for the first of his possession or his name, or like if he walks, the word walk will be capitalized. So that's the type of editing that I'm doing to honor and respect Jesus and our Creator. Angels will be in green text, so it's quicker to reference when you're scanning through the book now. Then some of our people from Zebulun were asking, is he the male we are waiting for? Now, this I've gone over a couple times, the son of Abraham, the son of David, okay, that they know that's going to have a kingdom in heaven, and they were told to wait. Our Creator told them to wait. He is coming. Now, the thing here is the text, the Hebrew text is going to show that when they return from Babylon, they're told he is coming soon, okay, which soon seemed to be about 200 years, plus or minus a few years, 15, 25 years, something like that. Jesus told them, you both know of me and know where I am from. I have not come for myself, for Yahweh has sent me. To whom do not know of me, I know Yahweh because he sent me. Now this is Jesus's comment to these people that are asking. The text, because it is so trashy, when it's cleaned up, it's still hard to put a story that reads real smoothly. So I've done my best at the verses, and then I've kind of grouped them together to say that this should happen next. Because right now he's not in Zebulun anymore. He was in Ezekiah here. Synagogue here, map. Okay, he's back. Okay, he is back in Zebulun. He is back in Nazareth. So this map might cover it. I've done so much studying that it's hard to keep track. I did 3 videos yesterday, so just to let you know, being live like this helps you to understand my thought process, even though I do make errors. But this is being recorded for history. Jesus told them, you both know me and where I'm from. Okay, so the people that are asking, the way the question is asking, people from Zebulun were asking, is he the male we are waiting for? Now, in his hometown, he announced by making the reading from Isaiah who he is. Now there's other people from Zebulun, not his village. So this is now, I guess, them coming to him and asking him, or wondering, and he's explaining that, re-explaining the same verse, only differently. Then Jesus spake a parable. Now, so he's going to teach them a parable here. My kingdom in heaven is compared to a king who gave a feast for his son. He sent out his servants to call those who were invited, but they were unwilling to come. Again, he sent his servants to tell those invited, "Come, I have prepared as dinner of bulls that were fed grain or grain-fed stock, livestock. Everything is ready for you to come to his feast." Now, when the word is grain-fed stock, means the animals in a pen and they didn't have free range grazing anymore. So this is also what happens to an animal, because it doesn't have to go walking all over for the food. It gets more fat in the food, so the meat has a more of a better taste to it with more fat in it. So this is now of bulls. Now, bulls is to mean like what we would call today cows, but everything is male dominant at that time. So I've left the word cow to mean female, and bulls are the overall meaning. Like if I say rams, it's meaning sheep. So the thing here is you understand the difference of what you're reading here in the text. So this is a bulls. So there are bulls. Should I change the word from bulls? Which would mean cattle. Yeah, I'm going to change that word to from. This is just my editing that I've been doing over the years like this. Everything is ready for you to come to his feast. But they paid no attention to them, and they went on their way. So them as the servants that were sent, and those that they approached paid no attention to them. One to his farm, another to his business. Now I want to mention here on the word one, when it is describing an item as one, it is a number one. The word one is referenced when it's talking about a person. So in the word searches, it will help clean up the search when you search the word number one or the word one. Others seized his servants and mistreated them, and they even killed some. The king was enraged and sent his guards to those killers. His guards to kill those killers. Then he said to his servants, those who were invited were not worthy. Go to the roads and invite whoever to his feast. His servants went to the roads and found the good to invite to his feast. Now, what this is proverb is about is the journey that of our Creator creating a nation, telling them to you must live by. Good day. How are you doing? This proverb speaks to like the nation Israel being established, and you must follow the 12 commandments to remain on the land besides the statutes. But the commandments were very important. It was the agreement is there to say that they can remain in Israel or the nation Israel. Okay. So the thing here is we know that they didn't obey our Creator, and these would have been the invited to the party, meaning the inviting to, especially from David's time on, to enter into heaven. So this is kind of like come to his feast, come to his kingdom. And then these words here, I appreciate the comment, and that's what I'm hoping. More people like you yourself get involved and actually, I have a question, or someone's commenting here. and I appreciate your help. And I will check out your user ID name after I get done. I don't have a Discord, sorry. Actually, I've tried and it just doesn't work for me. I couldn't get it up and running. And now I'm blocked from all my email addresses that I have. So, but here it's that the people in Israel had refused our Creator, so they were mistreating his servants, the king's servants, which would have been prophets. And they even killed some of them, which we know they did kill the prophets. And then some of them. And then he was enraged and sent guards to kill those killers. Well, that means that he sent down like Assyria to take away the Israelis from the land of the divided nation, the nation Israel, into captivity. And then later he sent Babylon down to kill them and kill them off. Okay, so this is the story that's being said here. So other than that, this becomes, let's see, yes, then it goes on the road and he's going to invite others to his feast. This means that when Jesus' body dies, he's kind of mentioning here that anyone that is good, or I would say of high morals, it will be invited to come into Jesus's kingdom. And there's other prophecies describing, and Jesus does recognize that in his wording, and the people also have, in the way they wrote the text, they know that he is going to be a king for everyone on earth as well in heaven now. So the Jews were seeking to harass him. Like I said, the word Jews are those who are Israelis who are not following our Creator, so they're against our Creator. So the Jews were seeking to harass him, for many in the crowd did not believe him. Then they were saying, when our king comes, he will give us more signs than he has. What they're talking about is how they were misinformed of Jesus being a king first, meaning a strong ruler who conquered, then he's supposed to do things. So the thing here is this is what they've been deceived by with trickery of words. So this is the group of words that are going to be here next. Just making sure that the text is okay. I don't need any corrections in there. Okay. Jesus was in a village when a woman named Martha welcomed him to her home. Her sister's name is Maria, and she was listening to her Lord's words. Martha was distracted with her preparing for him. So she came in and said, "My Lord, do you not care? My sister has left me to do all the serving. Please tell her to help me." Jesus answered, "You are worried about many things, yet these things are necessary for me. Marie has chosen the part which will not be taken away from her," meaning that she's learning more about Jesus's gospel. He's teaching who he is and about his kingdom to her in these words here. She would not be hearing these words, but those who are preparing for Jesus and doing the smaller tasks for Jesus himself, these are necessary. So it has to be this way. One has to be one who serves. I guess you guys have been disconnected somewhere on your on the chat boards here. Sorry about that. Okay, now they're supposed to be working. And then this is pretty much the story is how Jesus is telling people that the necessary things about Jesus has to be at his time be done for him. Okay, example: preparing his food, preparing him to be able to wash his hands, his feet, and things like this. They are more or less servants to Jesus, which is very important. So this is what is being taught in this verse, that section there. Outside, he told these parables. Now, the story, because I'm just listening, this was from Luke 10, and now I'm Luke 18. So when I put the stories together, I have to make them read together. I had to add the word outside. He told these parables. 2 men went into a synagogue to pray. One was a judge and the other a taxman. Now here I used the word or number 1 wrong. So I got it. A judge and the other was a taxman. The judge stood and prayed, and he thought to himself, Yahweh, I thank you that I am not like other people or like this taxman. The taxman stood some distance away from him, but he was unwilling to lift his eyes to heaven. Now, this gives us a lot of insight to the synagogue itself. Because when you lift your eyes up to heaven, you have to know that they knew the location of heaven. Only New American Standard Bible, Psalms 48, verse 2, tells us the location of heaven. And it is above the North Star, or the far north is what the text will say. Far north is the North Star, which means that if you see the motion picture of the North Star, you'll see that remains as a point. And then the stars make a larger and larger concentric circles, which forms this mountain, Mount Zion, in the far north, is the way the text says. So we know the second heaven is the stars, and the motion makes a mountain, and above the North Star is where heaven is located. So our Creator ascended to heaven. They knew where he ascended to. When Jesus looked to heaven, you now know where he looked to ask for a blessing to feed the multitude of people. Here, we now understand that the synagogue was made where the people looked in the north direction, okay? Because to pray and then just look up with your eyes, this gives us the insight of actually how their synagogues were made at that time. I don't know if that's true today, but I just know that this shows at that time the way they had a layout of their synagogue. Yet he was praying, Yahweh, be merciful to me, for I have sinned. I say to you, this taxman went home. Oh, this is Jesus talking. I'm going to put Jesus said, this has been changed. This has been added. This text needs to be black. It's added as well. Okay. This is to smooth out, just like I was saying. I read it and I was a little confused. Now I'll read, for I have sinned. Then Jesus, switches so we know who's who and when it's breaking. This taxman went home to his home justified, for who humbles themselves before Yahweh will be justified. Now, when he said he sinned, now this means that he didn't obey one of the 12 commandments. The 12 commandments are defined by our Creator talking to them in the Sinai. This is found in Exodus 20, verses 1 through 17, and you'll find there's 12. Our Creator defined what a sin is by saying, bring a sin offering to be forgiven of these sins. So whenever you're being forgiven, you're being forgiven for these 12. These were the agreement for them not to be cast off from their land, even though this is probably easy 1800 to maybe 1800 years later, close, somewhere around there, that all of a sudden he is just confessing before our Creator. Now this means that he might be too far away from the story. Jesus would be saying is that you are to speak to our Creator about your sin, and then you're supposed to be talking to him about, I need to do better, help me out, do better. And then Jesus is saying he's justified here. He's not really forgiven. The thing here is justified is later here, being justified. This is Jesus saying he will, by his mercy and compassion, allow him to enter into heaven. So this is what this text is meaning. Then so Jesus does, and you notice I only have one verse here in the middle of Luke 18, and then I got to go back to Luke 14. Do not judge anyone according to their appearance. Judge them with a righteous judgment. So Jesus is telling people that you have to understand the situation and what's going on for you to actually even say something against the person or for that person, okay? And judge them with righteous judgment, meaning you have to, one, you have to be obedient to be righteous. Well, to obey our Creator's commands, and all of them, the statutes, commandments, laws, and guidances, you become righteous only by living by those the best you can. Then you become righteous. Otherwise, you're just obedient to our Creator, or you are obeying our Creator. There's levels to becoming a righteous person. But the thing here is when you go by all our Creator's statutes, commandments, laws, and guidances, this is, and you know them, or you're judging from them, that's a righteous judgment by knowing our Creator's will for you to live by, to be obedient to him. So there's a lot to say in this verse, but like I said, it's just one verse from John that I had to put someplace. So, and when you read it without knowing this was here, it reads really good. But I did separate as it's supposed to be being taught on its own. Okay, here's the proverb. A male gave a big dinner, and he invited many of his neighbors. That morning for the dinner, he sent his servants to tell his invited, come, everything is ready. They alike made excuses not to come. One said, I bought land, I need to go and look it over. Please excuse me. The other said, I bought 2 oxen, and I am going to work them. Please excuse me. Another said, we are newly married. For that reason, we cannot come. His servants reported these to their master. Their master became angry and said to them, go to our streets and roads to this city, invite them and bring them here, our poor, crippled, blind, and lame. And I had to put the word are here to mean all these as well. It's not inviting the foreigners yet, because Jesus is teaching about his true people, his servants, that Israelis were known they were going to become his servants in heaven. So he's pretty much describing their people that are poor, crippled, and blind and lame. His servants reported to their master, "What you commanded has been done, and you still have room." So their master said to them, "Go to the highway and ask them to come to my house to be full." Now he's invited anybody that's going a passerby. The highway is a traveling road for strangers as well. So now we have the definition of Jesus inviting those from other kingdoms. And I tell you, not one of those that I had invited will share my dinner. Meaning the ones that he invited and that refused him to come. They're pretty much those that had turned away from our Creator. Will share in his dinner, which means in his kingdom. When anyone wants to build, do they not first sit down and figure out the cost to know if they have enough to finish it? So this is a second parable. Otherwise, after they had laid the foundation and they are not able to finish it, then everyone who knows why will mock them, meaning they didn't have the funds, they didn't think it out. Or what king sets out to battle another king? Will he not first sit down in council to know if he is stronger, if his 10,000 is going to encounter his 20,000? Then he can send his commander to ask his terms for peace. So the thing here is Jesus saying that you have to think about what you are attempting to do in many different ways of life, okay? And not to be foolish in your way you want to do things. This is to actually say, think before you act, okay? When he left, I don't know where he is at right now to say where he left, because when I'm looking at the maps, I've done this before, and I made a map that had Jesus traveling. Where is that map? Jesus is teaching time. It's like I cleaned up to make room for a new map. Well, these are the maps that I inserted. So it should be in this long list here. Because the text I'd done by our Creator's hidden formats had, I didn't have the best lining up of putting the text in place, but it did give me availability to, or give me knowledge to be able to, here it is. I made this map here, and it has all the places Jesus visited and when they were the stories I felt that needed to be placed, because pretty soon on this path he's going to go and be baptized here in Salem. So the thing here is we got him from going from Zublin now into West Manasseh. I have Martha in service. Those stories were taken right now. So I'm saying that there was a bridge somewhere in between here. The roads aren't exact, but the path are these. And now there's going to be 10 leopards are healed. And then the woman who was bound for 18 years. The stories are going to change, but I'm trying to make a map that will designate all these places where Jesus had, and I will be selling this map at some point. That way it's visible, so you don't have to read the text. You can go over and say, oh, that's what I want to remember. So, but he left, a leper came and dropped to his knees before him. Then he asked him, will you make me healthy? He touched him and said, be healthy. And the leprosy left him. Then Jesus said, go show yourself to the priest and bring your healing, and bring for your healing as Moses commanded you for a healing testimony, which is lost. We don't know what this offering was that he was to take to the priest. And this priest at this time, I did not put the word higher priest here, that they would have had, at this time, they would have had, like in a synagogue, they might have designated someone as being a priest or teacher. The best from the text that I've got, or I know, that it has to be that they had like a priest over their synagogue, and then they would have even a scribe there, and then they would have attendants. So he's pretty much saying, go to your priest that is in your city or that city you're near, and bring bring for your healing as Moses commanded. So with the text as it is now, that's best I can get it cleaned up. Maybe someday in the future, I'm going to put higher priests here and then make them all go to Jerusalem, because as commanded by Moses, this would have been that the only priests that were there at that time were those that were ministering in his tent for meeting, and then later in the house for meeting our Creator. So should I be adding that now? Well, what I'm going to do is just note it this way here. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be harder to read with that color. Because what I'm trying to do is make notes to say that what I'm saying now, I'll remind myself whether I changed it or not later before I put it into the next text when I go through editing. I was just thinking that maybe I should do it right now, because just the way I explained it here, I know I explained it the same way, but this is now the second time that this has happened. Show yourself to your priest would be priest, and this means that they're in Jerusalem. I'm not going to do that. I just realized that other text is going to be that the priest came to him, so there has to be this difference of higher priest when they're talking, because when they get closer to Jerusalem, yes, the higher priests have to be separated from the priest that Jesus is going to do traveling around the nation of Israel here. And this text here, or this area here, which is known as Galilee in your text right now, but Jesus is traveling here. So it looks to me like I am going to not change the word priest. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just going to say that at this time things are so corrupt, it would be better to go to maybe his priest is better off being a good priest by not being down there with the corrupt priest as their major priests, working or whatever they're ministering for in the house for our Creator. He went proclaiming he was healed by Jesus, and they were coming to Jesus from everywhere he went. So this seems like he's going around proclaiming, like he's heralding Jesus is now traveling from here to here, which would have been the news for people wanting to come to see Jesus, because to be healed of their illness and sicknesses were very important to people, and they were also understanding and hearing he is the son from David, who we've been told is coming. Jesus was teaching in one of our synagogues on a holy day. There was a woman who had a demon bending over her, had her demon bending her over so she could not straighten up. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, I will free you from your bending." As he laid his hand on her, she was straightened again, and then she praised Yahweh. So you can see that the map that I was making about traveling, this is what I'm doing here. So this would have to have a map location. So where am I going? Here. No, I can't. I got to put it here. There's a map here. The synagogue's pride was upset because he healed her on a holy day. So he announced to our people there are 6 days work. That is missing. 6 days that there are 6 days that work should, yes, okay. There are 6 days that work should be done on. Come during them to be healed, but not on the holy day. Jesus told him, "You are a hypocrite. Do people not on a holy day lead their livestock to water? Why should this woman not be healed on a holy day?" And the entire crowd rejoiced. In other words, this scribe was kind of corrupt and not corrupt. People are still coming to him. I'm going to say he's corrupt. He's being commanded by the runners for the highest priest to go and spread to speak against Jesus. So when he had his chance to do it, he did. So he is against Jesus, and then Jesus corrects him. And it's also when it comes down to specifics about what kind of work you can do, livestock still need to live, and they need to be led to get water. So this means that they would be coming to a stream, a pond, or whatever, so they can drink. I would say that when there's other verses that would say why people can work, and that would be like what we would call nurses and doctors or firemen or policemen today, that they are out helping other people. This type of work our Creator would not consider as work, such as making your meal, but if you can get away with not washing dishes afterwards, that would be better. But the object is the preparation is okay, but the washing of it, you can let them sit there for the next day. So try to understand when you hear that reasoning, what type of work you can be doing or not doing on this holy day. And the holy days are the first day of the week, and his year, our Creator's year, starts at the summer solstice. So I'm not sure what the next one's going to be. It's, oh, well, this is July. I forgot to check. June solstice. Yeah, I forgot which day, because sometimes it's a Wednesday, sometimes it's a Thursday. It depends on our Creator's calendar when we know the first day of the year really is. I gotta go check that. Okay. I want to get rid of this space right here. Then he said, what is my kingdom from Yahweh like, or how can I compare it? It is like a mustard seed planted in land. Now, the word land, you have to understand how they thought of land. The land is what is seeable. Underneath it is known as the ground. So when they came up to a river, they could see the land under the water, okay? Just so you understand the difference of the words that are being said here, how they were thinking of what the definition of the word land is. This is why I try to tell people, once you can find a definition for the word in the text here, that is the way you should be speaking and using your words. Not using a secular dictionary of today's world, of saying like the word man meaning a male. Our Creator defined male, the word man, as I made man male and female. So the word man in this text will always be referring to man and as male and female. So as it grows, it becomes a tree for the birds to rest on, or like one who, okay, now this is one way to compare his kingdom, and that's just like he is the mustard seed and he's planting this, and then all of a sudden many will come to rest in Jesus's words, to have this, take their belief from this text to bring it to a trust, that you can trust these words to say that Jesus said them, and he meant these words for you to enter into his kingdom in heaven. The second way is, or like no one after lighting a lamp puts it away. It is like a lampstand's light, and it is for those who enter to see by. The lamp for your body is your eyes. When your eyes are clear, you will see by my light. Okay, let me go over this here. It means that the lamps that they were lighting, they weren't going to put it away. They lit it to use it so they could see, okay? And then it's kind of like he's given a second advice here, and it's like the lampstand that you light for others to enter into your place. So this is understanding these lights as what we'll know as later as, or to know Jesus's kingdom, you have to light this lamp of your belief that Jesus is for you, and then you're going to have that light as a lamp in your house when visitors come over. And then Jesus is saying the lamp for your body is your eyes. And when your eyes see clearly, you see by my light, meaning the more you obey our Creator, you're going to be known when people look at you and talk to you, and you're going to speak eye to eye. Then you're going to have the light for Jesus within you to speak of Jesus. Okay? Your judges look righteous on the outside. Inside they are full of robbery and wickedness. Now, this means that he's teaching about the corruption that's going on at that time. And we could refer to that at this time, that when we see judges not obeying the law as they know it is supposed to be, and they do other things against the law. Example, not treating the same punishment for one person as the next person gets a different judgment. There is supposed to be some lenience for those that have the first time offense, but the thing here is their judges at this time were known to be taking bribes to rule in their favor, and so he's pointing out that they look righteous because they're the judge, they're wearing the clothing, and look at me, I'm the judge, and inside they're full of robbery and wickedness, which means at this time they aren't judging by our Creator's laws and guidances. So woes for your judges, for they disregarded his justice. And that's just what I spake of. But these they should have done without regard for others. These meaning his laws, his justice, or his will to have just judgment passed. Example, judge more leniently and more stronger for the widow and the orphan, okay? For they love to sit in the front seat of the synagogue to get respectful greetings in the markets, and to get respectful greeting in the markets. I was thinking of what to say here about the synagogue, because I realized that I've changed the word judges here. The thing here is, I want to let you know why I changed, Pharisees and Sadducees. Looking for the text. Okay, I'll do Pharisees. When I pulled all the verses with the word Pharisees, we have Jesus's words, and this is the one that I was thinking of right here. Sit themselves in the chair of Moses. Here's the verse that I'm talking about, who love to sit in front of the synagogue. When you read about the Pharisee and the way their definition of Pharisee is, they have it listed as they're an offshoot sect. Well, you can't be an offshoot sect if you're sitting in the front, sitting themselves in the seat of Moses. That means that they're a judge. Moses had a chair that he sat in to judge in the Sinai that we know of. And then down here, they'd love to sit in the front seats of the synagogue. So that doesn't mean they're an off sect. They are specifically sitting there because they feel that they're most righteous and they deserve this seat to be sat there. So these other verses tie the Pharisees to lawyers as well. So judges and lawyers rejected God's purpose for them. So this was the corruption, and these are the verses that I used to remove the word Pharisees. And then I did the same thing for Sadducees. The Sadducees become lawyers. So, because I think there's a verse, Pharisees and Sadducees came to him, and what they did was question him about the laws. So that was an easier change, or getting to the point of changing the word Sadducees after I knew Pharisees was a judge. Get respectful greetings in the market, yet they are like concealed pits, so people are unaware of them. So Jesus is telling us that their judgment is actually harmful to people, that they're offending by not doing our Creator's justice, by obeying our Creator's will for how a judge should judge. I gotta check the time here. Okay. A lawyer said, Jesus, when you said that, you attack us too. He said, Jesus said, Jesus said, this would be that he have to have more than just judges and lawyers. This is going to talk about judges and lawyers. So Jesus said, give to him for you lawyers too, for you too weigh man down with burdens that are hard to bear, while you yourselves do not bear them. For those like you help build the graves for his prophets, for it was your forefathers who helped kill them. In other words, we're talking about a corrupt lawyer and a descendant of a corrupt lawyer. So now you know, and most of the lawyers and judges were Levites, okay? So he knows that he's actually a descendant from a Levi, but now some of his forefathers, Jesus is pointing out, were corrupt. So this is the text here that says that you help build graves for his prophets. Now, we don't have a lot of stories of how many prophets did die by the judges and lawyers or kings. So this just has to go that Jesus said it. It must have happened this way. Yahweh promised, I will send them my prophets, and they will kill and persecute them. So this text is not found in the Hebrew text at all. I did have a list that I was specifically looking for text that is being said in this book in the Hebrew text that I've got, and there is nothing here of that. So I can't put a note to reference it back. And by his prophets' deaths, man will make changes against those, will make charges. Man will make charges against those generations. So this means that those that at that time are now in the abyss that have passed away, they're complaining about how they were deceived by these judges and lawyers by killing prophets and trying to say not to listen to the prophet, listen to their way of teaching. Kind of like what the Roman Catholic Church does today. If you speak out against the church, they get 100 people to tell you no. The scribes have too, by removing key knowledge of me. Here's the scribes are now, and like I said, there's corruption that I can point to by showing you the king's timeline that I made. Now, just for Israel, tribe of Israel, we know that Jeroboam actually created Bethel as a evil meeting place. So I don't know why people call it the Church of Bethel and go to the Church of Bethel, because they're against our Creator. That's what this church in Bethel was about. And then he assigned his priests and scribes. So you can see that at this time for the Levi or for Israel, many of them were being corrupted by these scribes that were rewriting the text and writing the text for them to have this belief to go to Bethel instead of Jerusalem to make their offering to our Creator. And then at this time here, after Israel has gone into captivity by the Assyrians, this king here sat and meditated to have sex with a so-called female goddess, and he carved his goddess, and then he put her into the meeting house with our Creator in his meeting room itself. So this means that the priests and scribes were most likely corrupt extremely by now, and that's why I try to tell people that the first Hebrew text that's actually being shown, revealed in 2,000 years, might be even longer than that, as the major text that everybody was seeing at the time from this king going forward. So this is when I can definitely point to that the priests were definitely meditating to have sex with a so-called female goddess, or he couldn't put it in there. And there is a vision by Ezekiel saying these things that I'm repeating to you right now. The scribes have too, by removing key knowledge of me, therefore they too will not enter my kingdom, nor those hindering mine. So Jesus is speaking not only to the scribes, but those who are convinced by the scribes, those that were hindering mine, or I left the word hindering because they didn't have the authority over them, but their conversation was making them to rethink the truth about Jesus. Okay? When Jesus left, their scribes, judges, and lawyers were very upset by his teaching. So I didn't put the words priest down here. I should have added the word priest here. I'm going to put priest here. Put a comma. Text. Because we had the priest above, so this is kind of like regrouping, and this is going to be the end of Jesus talking to the crowd at that time. Okay, Jesus left there and praised God. Good. As he walked from one tribe's land to another, someone asked, "My Lord, are just a few to be forgiven?" He said, "Many of mine will come from the east, west, north, and south to rest in my kingdom from Yahweh. And my last will be like the first, and the first will be like the last." Now, Jesus is speaking of already his kingdom will be established, that all nations around the world will have good people, that he will let them enter into heaven. And when he says, "My last will be like the first, and the first will be like the last," meaning to enter his kingdom, everyone has to enter by him. So they will all get the same entrance into heaven through Jesus. Jesus is also teaching the eye of the needle, where a camel can go through, and Jesus is teaching that the eye is his yes, yes, you may enter, and his no, no, you can't enter my kingdom. But everyone who does enter will be just as the first one that enters his kingdom, as the last one who enters his kingdom. When he went into a home for one of our judges on a holy day, and there in front of him was a male suffering with dropsy. Yes, I'm going to put a note here. The dropsy. Jesus asked our lawyers, or our Jesus asked our judges and lawyers, is it lawful to heal on a holy day? So at this time, when he was walking from one land to another, I should put a map here, or at least maybe put a map there, because I was just trying to put a placement on where he's at, because the different group is following him now. So this, to have judges and lawyers, we know that has to be a major city now. So where would this be? I just need to, and I've got to go to, got to go. He's got to be in from now. So this line is somehow getting to here. So this is where he's at now, according to the way I had the other map made anyway. So the judges, oh, there's a major city here, a king. And I haven't added it to this map itself. There's going to be a city right in here someplace by this major road. And this is where the king of Israel actually established his place of residency, and then it was changed later up to Samaria, but it was first down here, so can't remember what the name of that city is, but that's probably the name of the city that I'll use for this story here. Because they have to have judges and lawyers. That means it's got to be, what they had was refuge cities when they first came in to conquer, after they got settled in, or they've conquered the promised land. The first thing our Creator told them to do was set up a refuge city. So these refuge cities were the first cities that were established, and they were to judge those who were seeking help on whether they were killed somebody, and they were to be judged. Because when you look, yeah, this is a good time to teach that as well. So let me put this up. Of the commandments, it says you will not kill willingly. Okay. Now I had to add the word willingly here for the simple fact that Jesus knows, or no, our Creator set up a refuge city, and these were for those who had killed not willingly, or to make an offering even though they had killed somebody unwillingly. Okay, so the thing here is each tribe's land had a major city that when they sought refuge, because when someone is killed, the family itself of the one who died can assign what's known as a blood avenger, who is to go after and kill that person that killed. And what they would do is they would run to these cities to say it was an accident and tell them a story, and they would actually hold court for him to find out if he killed them willingly or unwillingly. If it was unwillingly, the blood avenger could kill him, or he would be returned to that area and stoned to death. Or the thing here is that if he was judged innocently, that it was an accident, they would bring a group of them come back with him and announce that we judged him and he is we found it to be an accident, so now he has to make his sin offering, but don't bother him, he is to live on the land again. So these, when it's talking about judges or lawyers, these have to be like way back established in the refuge cities. Are these now refuge cities now not being as normal as they were back then? The text doesn't show that. I just want you to know that how the refuge cities to have judges and lawyers were established by our Creator. And then did they each have now a court in their own cities that they're at? And don't know for sure. The text is leading to say that they had multiple places, but it does mean that it would have to be at a larger city, not just at every village type of thing. Is it lawful to heal on a holy day? They kept silent as he touched him to heal him. Then Jesus sent him home. Then he asked them, which of you having a son, and he falls into a pit, will you not pull him out on a holy day? Some answered him, yes. This would mean that, again, Jesus is pointing out a work is not when you're helping somebody else out, even your own family. So when people are asking you for help, even if it's on a holy day, you're not sinning, is what Jesus is pointing out here. Then Jesus noticed how they picked their seats of honor at the table. So this story is actually continuing. This is one long story here. So he told them, when you are invited by someone, do not take the seats of honor. And those would be those closest to the one who invited you. Least he says to you, a more distinguished guest than you has been invited, and please give your place to this male, for then you are disgraced. Meaning that when you're taking a seat and you're not thinking of acting properly at somebody else's home here or event, Jesus is telling you to make sure you're thinking first. When you are invited, sit in a lesser seat. So when he who has invited you says, my friend, come sit by me, then you will have honor in the sight of everyone there, meaning that you're being favored by him to sit next to him. And usually, for a person to have this event happen, has to be very wealthy to have many guests over. This would be someone very rich, or someone who is very rich. Everyone who exalts themselves can be humbled. Who humbled himself can be exalted. He said to who invited him, when you this is following the order. So you know Jesus is already talking. So I'm thinking whether should I replace the word he with Jesus. I think if I add the word then, it needs to be broke up. Then he said to who invited him, when you give a dinner, do not only invite your friends, try also to invite poor, crippled, lame, blind near you. You will be repaid. Or you will be repaid for your kindness. This means that everything that you do in life and everything you say, Jesus is going to judge you on. So he's got a teachable moment here to the one who invited him. He looked around and he didn't see who Jesus said, because you have so much wealth, you should be inviting those that are near you that you don't think is acceptable by those that are here, but you should bring them here. So on the road, someone said to Jesus, okay, so this has to have a map here. Someone said to Jesus, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus told him, foxes have holes to lay in, birds have nests to lay their young in, but I, your son for man, have no place to lay my head to rest. And this is Jesus talking at this time as he's traveling. He has no place to actually call home. He's out teaching. Now, these words, son for man, are very important here. Your son for man, there's two ways this can be said. One is from man, son from man. This is meaning he is the son from David or a son from Abraham's descendants, male descendants. From man, that meaning male and female, or son for man, that means all of everyone on earth who is obedient to our Creator. He is the Son for man. Okay, obedient to our Creator. And Jesus is going to have many things that are, like I just said in these parable above, these are truly laws, but these are Jesus's commands of giving you that extra little push to do better, to be like Jesus. Okay, so to obey those commands by Jesus, as well as honoring our Creator. A lot of people want to define, well, that's the Old Testament, this is the New Testament, we can't live by the Old Testament. Well, you can't get away from what's known as the Old Testament. They are all one, because the word forgiving to enter into heaven is based on the 12 commandments. So there were to be two books or two placements like that of text, or divide the text like that. So Jesus is saying also your son for man. So he's also teaching the next step of his life. Then he told him, will you herald for me, meaning to go announce that I'm coming to the next city. So now you can see Jesus wanting more people to know he's coming, to heal them and make them aware of what's going of his life for them as the favorable year of our Lord. So right now, in the timeline of the guessing of the stories and how it would happen, we now have to put Jesus at least in the third month of what's going on, close to maybe the fourth month, and their months were different than our months. They didn't go by a moon month. They went by their 7 days, and what I found is that they had to have 7 days for what they considered as a month. Okay, because then it fits in, I think it's 10 months and so many days before the new year starts. You can't, if you divide it by 4, you can't do that. You divide it by anything else, or divide it up, you'll find that I'm pretty sure it's 10 months they only had or went by. So, will you herald me? But he said, first, I must go and bury my father. So the thing here is he's not obeying Jesus. So Jesus told him, allow your family to bury him, for you are to go and herald everywhere my kingdom from Yahweh. This should be capital H. For you. I think this should be this. So he's telling him what he was supposed to do and forget his burying his father. More important to obey your king. Okay. Another said, I too will herald for you, my lord, but first permit me to say goodbye to those at home. Jesus told him, no one, after putting his hand to the plow, looks back. These are like mine for my kingdom from Yahweh, or Yahweh. I've said just the two letters for too many years. Jesus told him, no one after putting his hand to a plow looks back. These are like mine for my kingdom for Yahweh. I'm thinking that there's something missing the word for. So I think that's pretty good. I don't think I need to overteach anything there. As the crowds were growing, he said, beware of the words from our judges. Now, when I tell people that at the very beginning in the intro, words tell me where the text needs to be placed. Now the crowds were growing. So then, like, I got it after he's wanting heralders to come to him. So these kind of little comments here were how I place the text. So this text has to be the crowds were growing, okay? So when people are reviewing the text and saying, well, this needs to be put someplace else, and I did mention that there's one text that I might be moving, but this is kind of locked in because you have to pay attention to these small little words that people might just read, understand, but not really think them over. These little words are actually the placement or how I placed these groups of text together. He said, as the crowds were growing, he said, beware of the words from judges. Now, I'm going to say Jesus here. They removed Jesus' name so many times out of the text, so isn't that funny? Even when he's talking, he refers himself to a he or him in your text as it is now. There is nothing they covered up that will not be revealed, and their hidden will be known. Whatever you say in darkness will be heard in the daylight. What you whisper in your rooms will be proclaimed on the roads. My friends, do not be afraid of those who can kill your body. I warn you, you are to fear Yahweh, who can cast you into hell forever. Now, the word hell must be explained here because the the text, Jesus hasn't taught about hell yet, but when I was placing this text, I didn't know whether I should leave the word hell here, but I had to because it's the word forever. Hell does not exist, okay, yet. After Jesus' second coming, and he is going to command your soul out of all those that are living on earth, and they're going to be divided to go to heaven or enter into the abyss. Then our Creator is going to then make a new abyss, or change the abyss to the word hell, that they're going to live in this darkness forever. Now, Jesus does say it's like fire. The bell's ringing, and that means somebody might be at the front door. I'm waiting for them to knock again. If not, it's delivery, so they're not knocking on the door. Okay, so hell is being mentioned here, but it's not being explained by having the second coming mentioned yet. But this was a text that I had to put here because the story, the way it's going, the way the order has to be, it has to go someplace, and this is just has to be explained. So I think it's time to say that this needs a note. It's going to be over here, and then it's going to be second coming. It'll be tied to that. Where's second coming? In other words, Jesus is telling not only the judge that does all these things in darkness, every word and everything you do will he judge you on. And then he's warning you as his friends. This is where Jesus is showing you the fellowship with him as being friends and not as servants. My friends, do not be afraid of those who can kill your body. So the object is look for your afterlife with Jesus. I say to everyone who says they are mine before others, I, their son, for man, will speak of them before Yahweh, which means he'll testify that they are to be forgiven for what their past is, because they had said that they belong to Jesus and they were obedient to Jesus. Some that are going to say that are preachers, example, we know today that there's preachers that have multi-million dollars and all this extra stuff. Well, that is all that's against our Creator, and they're teaching deceivement by saying what the Catholic Church is to teach. So they really aren't being truthful. And this is where Jesus also is going to say later, some will say, but I spake of you and you should allow me into heaven. And Jesus says, you weren't obedient to our Creator, let alone obedient to what I said. So you're not going to enter into heaven. So this is what Jesus is pointing to here, that those truly are him have to be very good at obeying our Creator. And who denies me before man, I will deny. I don't know if that's spelled right there. best way you can check it is what does it mean? Could not find. So I have to just put this. I'm going to do this. Draw my text in this word, and I'll figure it out later. Because I've got to wrap this up here, so I'm going to stop teaching at this part here. At the end of this group here. Who denies me before man, I will deny before one. So there is Jesus telling us that he's going to be speaking to our Creator from time to time about who is on the edge of probably going to be with Jesus or not be with Jesus. And those that are denying him, we know that they're not going to enter into heaven. Example, like the Pope and whoever bishops right now today, who speaks words against their Son for man can be forgiven. Who curses Yahweh will never be forgiven. How you doing? Yeah, I'm streaming, but I don't need any of those extra helps. I'll earn the people that I've got a comment from Kick, and a lot of people from Kick come over and say they'll give me money, and I'll get a lot of people come visit you. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about truly earning it by people understanding what I'm doing. They find is good for them to know, and they will follow me or stop and watch my videos, and then hopefully tell others. Who speaks words against their... Now this is kind of like the second subject within here of what Jesus is going to be forgiven. That means that they could be very obedient to our Creator, and yet they're denying the Son for man, meaning they're denying that Jesus is going to be King for all people. Jesus is saying they can be forgiven. Who curses Yahweh will never be forgiven. And I should have brought that up. And so what this goes to is Jesus's word about cursing. I got rid of the word blasphemy because that's just not being truthful to the words. Where it comes to the word curses Yahweh goes all the way back to when they were in the Sinai, when an Egyptian son was arguing with an Israeli son in the Sinai. He was cursing our Creator, and they didn't know how the judgment, so they had to talk to Moses. Moses talked to our Creator, and our Creator said, kill them. Jesus is referring back to our Creator's judgment on this call that I can point to in when they come out of the Sinai. So it's not blasphemy, it's cursing against our Creator, such as when Saul is described as Paul, who says, I was a blasphemer, would mean I used to curse our Creator. Jesus says he'll never be forgiven. So anyone who accepts Paul's writing, even though they know that Jesus said, who curses or blasphemes will never be forgiven, you are now, when you say Paul's words are true, you are now questioning all the words of Jesus don't mean what they mean, plain and simple. Jesus said they'll never be forgiven. So the thing here is Jesus' words overrules Paul's. So anything that Paul wrote of the 13 books, they just are not true. So the thing here is when people ask me, why did I use more books? Because of that reason, I can just throw out all of those 13. The others are just false, and I give other reasons for those as well. But Jesus is telling us those that curses are Yahweh, they will never enter into heaven. When people bring you before others, do not become anxious about how or what you should speak. So the thing here is he's given guidance that don't worry about what you're going to say, just do your best. Because people are telling you here that some people are going to try to put you on the spot to be like the speaker for Jesus. And so the thing here is up here, those who are right here, who are before others, and then this is going to happen to some of those. Don't be anxious to overspeak or try to think of what you're going to say. Just say what's truthful that you know in your heart before them. Okay? I'm going to end there. His holy words will guide you. So this is our Creator giving you that truth at that time of what to say. Everybody is going to answer differently because everybody is different and everybody has a different understanding of truth, because the truth that our Creator gives you to understand is what you're supposed to understand at that time in your life. As you grow closer to our Creator, the more truths He's going to give you. So this holy words will guide you. Jesus is referring to our Creator's going to give you your thoughts anyway. He's going to give you thoughts that you are going to be able to say that are the truths from your heart that you know about. So I'm going to quit there for right now. And then I've got to start with making the next thumbnail. So I'll use that text to start the next one. And it gives me a little filler before YouTube puts that sign up and you can't see me anymore. So I will try to get another one up again today. But other than that,